Hello and welcome to Kerbal Space Program. Today I'm going to teach you how to reach orbit, and hopefully this skill will allow you to explore more of what this amazing game has to offer. Now here's a disclaimer, this tutorial is intended for people who are already familiar with the game's basic VAB and flight controls. If you've been able to reach space but can't figure out how to stay there, then this guide is for you. You do not need to know orbital mechanics to succeed with this guide. Now in KSP, you build, test, and fly realistically simulated rockets in a scaled down solar system. Most missions in the game require the craft to first reach orbit to continue to the desired trajectory for the mission's goals. Orbit is achieved by reaching high enough speed where the pull of gravity is balanced by the centripetal force the spacecraft experiences, achieving a state of constant free fall around a planet. Anyway, with all that, let's get into it. Okay, so here we are in the VAB. Here you will build your rocket and hopefully you'll be able to reach orbit. Down here we have the engineer's report. This tells you the amount of parts, the mass, the size, and some design shortfalls your craft may have, like missing parachutes for instance. Here we have the Delta V tools. This will tell you how much your rocket can basically do. It will tell you how far you can go, how much speed you can gain from each stage. The concept of Delta V is too advanced for this video to explain, but you'll figure it out as you go. And here I'm just going to click on this Mark 1 command pod. Now this is where your Kerbal will be during the mission. Here you have all the information that is important, things you could toggle, the appearance for instance. So yeah, if you want to tweak anything with your parts, just right click like that. Here we have the parachute. This is very important. This will allow you to bring your Kerbal back safely. So you just hover over the attach point and click and it will connect like that. And here you can see the parachute appears in the staging window, which we'll explain later. Now I'm going to add a heat shield, which will allow the craft to survive re-entry because it gets very hot. You need to protect your Kerbal. Okay, and now I'm just going to add a decoupler, which will allow the capsule to separate from the rocket when the time is right. Okay, and let's start building our second stage. So here we have our fuel tanks. These are the fuel tanks for this size of part. These come in various sizes and you can choose which one you need based off of your needs. You can also attach them radially like this. If you press C, it toggles snap on and off. X increases the symmetry and Shift X decreases the symmetry like so. For now we'll just go with this fuel tank as it will be enough for our purposes. Now I'm just going to change the appearance there. Okay, and now we need a vacuum optimized engine. Now these engines are more efficient in space. They don't provide as much thrust, but they are much better in terms of efficiency and they'll work very well for a second stage. You can also change the appearances of the engines depending on what you like. Here I'm going to add another decoupler and we're going to start building our first stage. I'm just going to go add another fuel tank. I'm going to add this extra long fuel tank for our first stage. Should provide enough fuel for us. And then I'm going to choose the swivel engine right here. This is a great engine. It has gimbaling, which means you can basically steer with the engine. Very nice little engine right there. And here I'm just going to change the appearance of the fuel tank. Okay, I like that. Alright, now this thing needs some fins. Now fins, basically all you need to know is if your rocket has stability issues when you're launching, so like say it flips around or whatnot, if you add fins, it'll increase the stability and you can even steer with them. So they're very good to have on simple one engine rockets like this. Here I'm just going to do 4 times symmetry like I showed you. Alright, we got our fins. Okay, and this rocket's looking pretty good. Has a good amount of Delta V. And I'm just going to rename it to first orbit. Alright, now you just save the craft right here. Just double check the staging here. So right here you can click and drag to move which stage. Highest number goes first, lowest number goes last. And here you could just double click each part to change when the staging occurs. So right now the default staging is good, so we're just going to leave it that way. And here we have our pilot for this mission, Jebediah Kerman. Always a great choice. Okay, and I'm just going to click launch. Okay, now we're going to launch. So the first thing you always want to do when you're going to launch a orbital mission is hit SAS. Now the keybind for this is T, and it'll basically automatically keep your rocket pointing in a certain direction. Very good to have. Now you can press shift to increase the throttle and control to decrease the throttle. Z is for full throttle, X is for zero throttle. This will be very useful, so you should practice this. Okay, and once we have full throttle, just press space and we'll launch. Now you want to go straight up at first until you reach about 800 meters or so, and then you want to start pitching over slowly to the right towards the 90-degree marker on the nav ball there. Now you want to gradually pitch over, just keep pitching. You want to reach 90 degrees when you get to about 10 kilometers. here I am pitching. It's kind of hard because the fins are so big, but it's working out pretty well. So yeah, let's see. I also decreased the throttle so we're not fighting against the air so much since we're so low in the atmosphere. Okay, but now we're at 10 kilometers, or just about 10 kilometers. So I'm going to increase the throttle again. We'll just stay pointed at this direction for stage separation. So once the engine burns out, you want to hit space to detach that lower stage, and hit stage again for the second stage. Now we're just going to keep pointing in this direction because we're a little low. Yeah, we'll just keep pointing in this direction. Now in the bottom left, you can see our readings for apoapsis and periapsis. Apoapsis is our highest point in the trajectory. So basically, that is when we'll start falling back down. We're going to try to aim for that to get to around 85 kilometers. The atmosphere extends to about 70 kilometers. So you want to be above that at the bare minimum to stay in orbit. So yeah, we're just going to point this way. Eventually, we're going to want to hit the prograde button for SAS, which is just here. We'll hit that, and we'll point in the direction we're traveling, basically. That's what prograde is. And retrograde is the opposite direction of our velocity. So yeah, here we're just gonna wait until we reach about 85 kilometers and cut the engines. And now I'm going to open up the map view to make our circularization maneuver. So basically what you want to do here, if the nav ball is hidden, you can just press the arrow to bring it up. To make a maneuver at apoapsis, so that's the AP mark right there in the orbit. So just click on that, click add maneuver. All right, and then we just want to click on that prograde marker and pull it until our periapsis is outside of the atmosphere. So that's our maneuver, and we'll do that burn once we reach the node. Click that button to point towards the maneuver. This indicator right here will tell us when to start our burn, and press Z to start the burn. All right, and there we go. We're in orbit. Now coming home is very simple with this rocket. We just press the retrograde button for SAS right here. It'll point retrograde, which is basically the opposite direction we're going. And we want this periapsis to get below 0. So now we're going to be heading home. And this heat shield will protect us from the atmospheric heating. Once we reach 70 kilometers, we'll be within the atmosphere again. And we'll just stay pointed retrograde and just wait for us to slow down. Okay, and now that our speed is starting to get low, I'm going to press the space bar to toggle our parachute. It'll deploy once it's safe, and there it goes. Okay, so now that the parachute is out, we pretty much just have to wait till we splash down. Congratulations, you have now achieved orbit for the first time, and hopefully this skill will let you do many things in this game. I hope you enjoyed the journey, and happy building.